I'm Catherine, 36, and Jard, my husband, and I live in a little apartment outside Denver. We don't have kids, it's quiet, simple, uncomplicated. Some people think that's selfish, but after my upbringing, I just call it peace and quiet. My family, mom, dad, two older sisters, and a ton of nieces and nephews was always a complete and utter zoo. My oldest sister, Laura, she's 42, comes up with amazing plans, but they never happen. Megan, my other sister, she's 39, and she's drowning with three kids and a husband who'd rather party than parent. I'm not super close to them, but mom, she's a real drama queen, and she's always trying to drag me back into the chaos. She keeps saying things like, "You gotta be there, at least for the holidays." This time it was a summer barbecue at my parents' place, a Saturday afternoon thing. I totally planned to skip it like always, but then mom called at 7 in the morning, all excited and pushy. "You can't miss it, Kath," she said. "Everyone will be there. It'll be lonely without you. Your family, Catherine," I just sighed. Jard, he was at the breakfast table, coffee in hand, and he gave me that little shrug that says, "I'll go if you want." So I didn't want to let mom down again, so we went. We figured we'd just stay for a little bit. The minute we pulled up, though, I wanted to turn around and go home. My parents' backyard was a total zoo that day, easily 20 people, grown-ups and kids mixed together. The July heat was brutal, and it was a haze of beer fumes and barbecue smoke. Laura and Megan were already there, each with a margarita in hand, giggling at something totally lame. The kids were a whirlwind of chaos, screeching and zipping around the tables, flinging food everywhere. "Hey, Catherine, you finally showed up," Laura slurred, wobbling over to me. "Thought you were too busy running the show. Big CEO meeting or something." She gave me a wink that felt like a punch, and I had to ball my hands up just to keep it together. I plastered on a smile and steered Jard toward my dad, who was tucked away in a little hot tub in the back, like he was trying to disappear. "You made it," he said quietly, handing me a cold water bottle from the cooler beside him. We tried to be friendly, making small talk with some of the neighbors we knew, but the whole atmosphere was off. The broken conversations, the constant glances at my watch, the inquisition about when we'd have kids from my relatives, it felt more like a grilling than a party. Everything went sideways when the three nieces and nephews, two boys and a girl, maybe 7 to 10 years old, suddenly barreled towards a guest standing near the pool. Everything seemed to slow down. The oldest one yelled, "1, 2, 3, push," and they went for it. The woman tripped but managed to grab the edge, only getting partially wet, but her expression was anything but okay. I quietly toweled off and walked away, leaving this weird silence hanging in the air. Before I could even process what was happening, those kids were swarming me, like I was the new game. I saw them coming in my peripheral vision and sidestepped, so they just went right into the pool. Jard just lost it laughing at their epic wipeout, and a few others snickered too, until Laura screamed, "Catherine, why didn't you grab them? They could have drowned." I totally froze. Nobody thanked me for dodging a potential disaster. Nobody asked why the kids were running around like crazy with no one watching them. All I got were accusations and these teary, slightly drunk stares, like I'd shoved their kids in the water myself. And that was just the start of an afternoon I wish I could erase. I drove home, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles were white. Jard was next to me, quiet the whole trip. He didn't need to say a word. I knew he felt the same way, completely wiped. That whole family fun thing my mom always talked about, it was never real. It was just a pretty facade hiding criticism, envy, and blame. My life really shifted after I got my MBA and landed a job at a big finance company in Denver. I bought my first place when I was 29. Then, 3 years later, I met Jard, a solid, dependable civil engineer who was always supportive. We didn't rush into marriage, didn't have kids, and kept our own lives separate from my family. That was the only way to keep things calm. But even then, the questions never stopped. Laura and Megan, both stay-at-home moms, wouldn't cop to it, but they always gave off this thing. Whenever I talked about work trips overseas, or when Jard and I put up pictures from Italy, Iceland, or New Mexico, they'd casually toss out remarks like, "Must be nice not to have to deal with diapers," or "Only people without kids can live like that." I'd just smile, but it never really made me laugh. There was this undercurrent of resentment in those words, like I had something they once wanted but couldn't get. 2 years ago, after a weekend trip in Breckenridge, I snagged a little mountain cabin, tucked away in a pine forest with a snowy view of the Rockies. It became my sanctuary, but I knew if I put it in my name, my family would lose it, especially Laura. So I had my parents hold the title as an early retirement gift, even though I was the one paying for everything. The mortgage, the taxes, the whole deal. Initially, the plan worked great. My folks were cool and only visited every now and then. But then one day I saw this random social media post. It was a photo of my cabin with the hashtag Airbnb retreat and the caption, Hidden Gem in Breckenridge, hosted by Laura. Highly recommend. I had to read it like 3 times. Not only were they using the cabin I paid for, but they were renting it out for cash. I didn't freak out immediately. I needed to be sure. Over the next few weeks, I watched all the posts, read Airbnb reviews, and even had a friend book a weekend there. I couldn't believe it. There it was, listed on some rental site under Laura's name. 20 plus reviews, charging between $350 and $500 a night depending on the time of year. I was floored. Just renting it out 2 weekends a month, she could easily be making at least $3,000 from a place she didn't even pay for. And Megan wasn't any better. There was this other time, Jared and I swung by the cabin to check the furnace before it got cold, and there's a whole family we'd never met grilling out on the porch. Some guy just casually says, "Oh, Megan told us to come over today. Her family's joining us later." I didn't even know what to say. I just left a message with Mom and got out of there. That's when it really hit me. They figured since the cabin was in my parents' names, they could just do whatever they wanted with it. Worse, they were making money off it behind our backs. I always thought keeping quiet was the best way to avoid drama, but when you're quiet, it just gives people cover to be greedy and disrespectful. My patience wasn't kindness anymore, it was just letting them walk all over me. So I decided I'd had enough. I wasn't going to let them run my life anymore. I wasn't going to let them think my silence meant they could do whatever they wanted. Just 3 days after that barbecue incident, my phone starts blowing up with these nasty texts. Laura goes off on me about how selfish I am for not wanting kids, like that somehow means I don't get to be part of the family. Then Megan jumps in, saying how hard they work raising their kids while I'm just out there enjoying myself. She said the cabin should be for the whole family, not just me. And before I could even respond, both my brothers-in-law started piling on. So Daniel, Laura's husband, he sent me this text, kinda joking, kinda not. He said, "If I'd known you were gonna do this, I wouldn't have left that gate open." Honestly, I wasn't sure if he was threatening me or just messed up. That was enough though. I just blocked them all. Jared didn't say much, just gave my shoulder a squeeze and turned on Do Not Disturb on my phone with his own hand. I thought that'd be it. But then Thursday afternoon my mom called. Her voice was real tight. She said, "Catherine, we need to have a family meeting, just adults. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., don't say no." I wanted to say no, I really did. But I said yes, for Mom and for myself too. I had to deal with this one last time. The meeting was in my parents' living room. That room used to be all happy family photos, but now it was the setting for this showdown. Laura and Megan, they were on one side, giving me the cold shoulder. Daniel and Brad, Megan's husband, they were there too, arms crossed, not even a hello. When Jared and I walked in, Mom spoke first, trying to keep her voice steady. She said, "There's been some stuff lately, causing some tension. We need to talk this out. No yelling, no pointing fingers, just the truth." I just nodded, then I laid it all out, no beating around the bush. "I know you both have been renting out the Breckenridge house for money. I've got proof. And from now on, nobody gets to use it without my say-so." Megan jumped up. "I didn't make any money off it, I just let some friends use it." "How dare you?" Laura cut her off, but she wouldn't even look at me. She just went to my mom instead. "Okay, I'll own up to it. Yeah, I put the house on Airbnb a couple times just to help out with the kids' school. That place is in Mom and Dad's names. It's not Catherine's property, plain and simple." I looked her right in the eye. "I'm the one who's been paying the mortgage, the taxes, everything. Mom and Dad just have the title to keep things easy. But if we're talking about who actually owns it, I have every single paper ready to put it in my name whenever I want." The room got super tense. Daniel muttered something. "Oh, so you just bought a house to brag. Isn't that a little much?" I didn't even respond. Then my dad, who'd been quiet this whole time, finally spoke. Everyone shut up. He hardly ever raised his voice, so when he did, you listened. "That house was Catherine's. Your mother and I just put our names on it to make things easier. From now on, nobody goes there unless she says it's okay." Complete silence. Then Laura let out this big sigh, like something finally clicked. "Fine, if you don't want to share, at least help us out with something. Tuition has been a real struggle. You're doing well, no kids. You should. Should I really be paying for your kids' school?" I cut in, my voice icy. "You're saying I should pay for someone else's decisions because I don't have kids, Because I live simply and work hard. Megan jumped in. We're not asking for everything, just a little bit. It's for the family, you know. I gave this short, hard laugh like a knife. Family isn't a free pass to take advantage of someone. I don't owe any of these people a single thing. Then Jard softly put his hand on my back, letting me know it was time to go. Just as I was turning to leave, I heard my mom call out, her voice all choked up. Catherine, I paused for a split second, and without turning around, I said, I love you, Mom, but I'm done being a sucker. And I walked out of that house, leaving behind the part of the good little sister they'd always wanted me to play. But I knew this wasn't the end. People who thrive on other people's generosity don't just let go that easily. About 3 weeks after that whole family thing, I finally started to find some peace. No more long guilt-tripping texts. No more tearful, late-night calls from my mom. I figured the worst was over, but I was totally wrong. That Friday, Jard and I were at a friend's for dinner when I got a message from Brandon, the guy I hired to manage the house in Breckenridge. The message just said 3 words. They got in. Before I could even text back, he called. His voice was super hurried, sounding panicked. I just got an alert from the gate camera. 2 guys used bolt cutters to break the chain. The gate's messed up. I called the cops. They're on their way. I just stood there in the kitchen, frozen, my ears ringing while he kept talking. They went in through the back door, broke the lock. I saw their faces on camera. It was Daniel and Brad. Jard came over, saw how freaked out I was, and took the phone to talk to Brandon. I was shaking, not because I was scared, but because I was so furious I could barely catch my breath. We bolted from the dinner party right away. Jard held my hand in the car, but I didn't say anything. The whole drive home. My insides were just a mess. I was angry, let down, and totally bitter. I tried to stay away, tried to keep myself out of their drama. But they just pulled me right back in. The next day, the Summit County Sheriff's Office called me. Daniel and Brad got busted trying to mess with the living room cameras. They were hit with 3 charges: unlawful entry, property damage, and criminal intimidation. The cops said the guys claimed they were just getting their stuff back. I asked for the video footage and a complete report. Brandon sent me the video of Daniel cutting through the metal chain. Then, he and Brad were shown busting open the back door, so hard the hinges broke. In the video, Brad even looked right at the camera and gave it the finger like he was taunting me. There was no question about it. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. They showed up with tools, a plan, and the intention to break the law. And I wasn't going to keep my mouth shut anymore. That afternoon, my mom called Catherine. She heard what happened. The boys just got a little carried away, but they didn't mean any harm. They think you're being too harsh. I just froze when I heard that. Too harsh, I repeated, and each word felt like a punch. You know they broke in, right? They wrecked the gate, smashed the back door, and tried to mess with my security system. I know all that. My voice was shaking a little. I really need you to think about this again. If you drop the charges, it won't go to court. They have jobs, you know. Brad works in security. He could lose his job if he gets a record. I squeezed the phone so tight. Jard was in the room, just watching me, looking worried. Mom, I said, trying to keep it together. They crossed every single line. This isn't just about feeling hurt or being jealous. They were on my property illegally. They did real damage, and they knew exactly what they were doing. You want me to just act like none of it happened? She was quiet for a minute. I've put up with them my whole life, I said, my voice getting quieter. But not anymore. This is it. This is the end. And if you pick them over me then this can't go on. I hung up. That night, I emailed my lawyer, asking her to handle everything from now on with the police and the DA. I also asked her to get a restraining order so Daniel and Brad couldn't come near me or my stuff. I didn't know how far this was gonna go, but one thing I knew for sure, I wasn't backing down. I wasn't that patient Catherine anymore. Not the quiet, always agreeing Catherine who tried to keep the peace. They broke the lock, both literally and figuratively, and unleashed a whole different side of me. And this version wasn't going to be pushed around. Something inside me just broke after that break-in. It wasn't the busted stuff that got to me. I could handle fixing fences, swapping out locks, even putting in a whole new security setup. What really got wrecked was my trust. It wasn't the first time my family had messed with me, but this time, something inside me just broke. Jard was just plain wiped out. That night, he sat next to me while I went over the police reports and the legal paperwork. The living room lamp made his glasses shine, and his voice was slow, but there was a hard edge to it. Catherine, I know you love your folks, but this has just gone too far, he said. If you want to ditch them completely, I'm with you. I don't want to watch you go through this anymore. I didn't say anything right away, but I knew he was right. He didn't smile anymore when I told him funny stories about my sisters. He stopped suggesting maybe, just maybe, give them another shot. He'd been quiet for too long, and it was time for him to get out of something he never signed up for, and I didn't want him to keep shouldering this weight with me. The next day I called Brandon. He usually just did the regular maintenance stuff, but now I signed a big contract with him. He was putting in a whole new camera system, smart locks, those fences that are hard to climb, and 24/7 security updates. Brandon's always careful, a former security guy who lives with his mom right down the street. I trusted him completely. "I'll take care of this place like it's my own," he told me on the phone. "And I'll make sure nobody sets foot on your property without being invited." Breckenridge is just a place on a map to me now. I haven't been back since it happened. I get the occasional camera updates, pictures of the mountains and trees, still gorgeous like they always were. But that house, it doesn't bring me peace anymore. It used to be my escape, the place I could just be myself. Now, all I see when I close my eyes are those two angry faces, the faces of the people I thought were my sisters. The sound of bolt cutters ripping through metal, the back door crashing open, it's always there. I can barely even think of them as my sisters anymore. Even after I blocked them everywhere, phone, email, social media, they still managed to get to me. New emails, fake profiles, even handwritten letters to my lawyer's office. I remember one Tuesday afternoon, a letter in Megan's perfect handwriting showed up. She was begging me to change my mind, saying Daniel and Brad just acted in the heat of the moment. But the last few lines, they made my stomach turn. "If you can't help with the kids' tuition, at least don't destroy their future." I just folded the letter, shoved it in a drawer, and locked it away. Later that night, I was sitting alone in my office, looking at real estate listings online. I typed in "mountain retreat for sale in Breckenridge." 3 bedrooms, mountain view. Then I added "price negotiable" and just froze. Jard came up behind me, put his hand on my shoulder, and asked, "Are you sure?" I looked up at him and nodded. That house, it wasn't a sanctuary anymore. It was just a painful reminder of everything they did. I can't stand living in that house anymore. Every single door is a painful reminder of everything that went wrong. No one could feel safe there, not after what happened, and safety's the one thing I need right now more than anything. Selling it isn't about the money, though. It's about taking back control, showing them they messed with the wrong person. They thought they could bully me, make me cry, make empty promises. They were dead wrong. I'm calling the shots now. Once I get rid of everything that reminds me of that nightmare, nothing will hold me back anymore. Blood, family, none of that gives anyone the right to wreck someone else's life. I'm clearing out the wreckage. Not just the house itself, but all those toxic relationships I should have ended years ago. Then, one Monday, I was in a meeting at work when the receptionist told me a package had arrived. It was an envelope addressed to me. Inside, there was a tiny, handwritten note and a check for $5,000. Daniel and Brad's names were at the bottom. The note was short and sweet. They fessed up to trespassing, apologized for being stupid, and begged me to drop the charges. They were worried about losing their jobs and screwing up their families. They swore they'd never come near the cabin again, and said they'd sign anything I wanted if I just let it go. I just sat there, staring at that check for what felt like forever. $5,000 wasn't going to fix anything, but it felt like the first time they were admitting any responsibility, on paper. That night, I took the letter to my lawyer, Charlotte Green. She was a no-nonsense kind of lady. After she read it, she was quiet for a bit, then looked over her glasses at me. "Catherine, if you want to go to court, I'll be right there with you," she said. "But think about it. A lawsuit could take a year. It'll wear you down, financially and emotionally, and you might end up with nothing but being completely wiped out." I didn't say anything. I just nodded a little. I was just so done, so over the drama and the constant intrusions. I just wanted it all to be over, but in a way that made it clear this was their last shot. 3 days later, Charlotte drew up a civil settlement. The deal was Daniel and Brad would pay for all the repairs, throw in $2,500 for the emotional toll and wasted time, cover all my lawyer fees, and sign a legally binding agreement saying they couldn't have any contact with me or Jard, direct or indirect. If they messed up, the agreement would be null and void, and I could reopen the criminal case. "We don't need any apologies," Charlotte said, matter-of-factly. "We need them to be scared of what happens if they don't play along." That weekend, those 2 brothers-in-law showed up at Charlotte's office with their own lawyer. I wasn't there, but Charlotte told me later it was a pretty tense scene. Brad didn't say a word the whole time, just signed everything. Daniel tried to haggle over the $2,500, but Charlotte shut him down real quick. So I had a choice. I could go to court, lay it all out, the illegal rentals, the nasty texts, even that video of them giving the security camera the bird. Daniel just clammed up. Finally, they signed. I got the agreement, plus 2 checks, one for the $2,500 we agreed on and another, a tiny one for $3.20 to cover lawyer fees. It wasn't exactly happiness or relief, but something else. A feeling of solidity, I guess, like I'd got my power back, not by screaming or fighting but by using the law. That night, Jard popped open that bottle of wine we'd been saving. "We're done," he said, clinking glasses. I smiled at him, a real smile, the first one in ages that didn't have a whole lot of anger and regret behind it. "Not quite," I said, real slow. "But this is the end of one chapter, it's the start of a life without them. I knew my sisters and I were done, and you know what? That wasn't a sad thing. It was freedom." A month later, a little package showed up. No return address, just my sister Megan's handwriting. I knew right away who it was from. I brought it inside, put it on the table, and didn't touch it for 3 whole days. A part of me hoped they finally got that I wasn't trying to hurt them, just protect myself. But another part, a tougher part, stopped me from even opening it. So one pretty calm Sunday night, I fixed myself some tea and finally opened the thing. There was a long letter inside. No apologies, no pointing fingers, just admitting they'd always thought of me as, well, different, not really part of the family, because I went my own way. Megan wrote about the pressure, the expectations, and how she let envy mess with her. "You always showed me what I didn't have the guts to choose," she said. "A life I created myself." I read the whole thing, folded it up carefully, and put it in the drawer beside my bed. I didn't rip it up, but I didn't write back either. I respected the honesty in what she said, but I was sticking with no contact. You don't have to make up to forgive. After the whole situation was finalized, Jard and I started concentrating on what actually mattered. We took a road trip to Santa Fe, cruising along empty mountain roads where your phone didn't work, no annoying calls, nothing from the past to get in the way. I started writing again, something I'd completely dropped. Little stories, scribbles in my old leather journal, even articles about, how to set boundaries with your family. Maybe I'll share them someday. I still have the cabin up in Breckenridge, though I hardly go. Brandon keeps an eye on it, sending photos every week. Sometimes it's snow all over the entrance, sometimes the sunset painting the trees all red. The house isn't something that got stolen from me anymore. It's back to being what it was supposed to be. A place to just be. My mom still calls. It's not constant, but every once in a while you see the effort, we chat about little things. The stuff in the garden, a new cake recipe, or my dad's exercise stuff. She never brings up Laura or Megan or anything that happened. I get it. I respect her for that. Once she said, "You sound so peaceful." I could hear it in my own voice too. I smiled. I had to learn to live all over again, Mom. This time though, I don't feel guilty about choosing me. That was the biggest takeaway from all of it. In families, love sometimes gets used to control you, to push into your life, to make you sacrifice everything. Real love isn't about blood. It's about respecting each other. I don't need a loud family to feel like I fit in. I just need someone who listens, a place where I can be me, and some quiet that isn't ruined by crazy expectations. I'm still the baby of the family. That's never gonna change. But now, I'm not gonna change how I feel just to make everyone happy. Catherine's story proves that sometimes the people closest to you can really hurt you. But instead of letting it happen, she stood up for herself, kept her boundaries, and took back her self-respect. In a world where people take advantage of kindness, saying no isn't selfish, it's strong. Catherine didn't just find peace for herself. She spoke up for anyone stuck in a bad family situation, showing that you have the right to build the life you actually want. What do you think about what Catherine did? I've been going over this a lot, wondering if I should have been more gentle. Maybe I came on too strong. But then again, maybe it was the only way to keep herself safe. I still don't know. I replay the whole thing in my head sometimes, trying to figure it out. It's a tough one, this whole situation. It really makes you think.